Hello everyone, and welcome to Planetside 2. You are here to learn the game, and I'm here to show it to you. So, getting started, I'm just going to not sugarcoat anything, and I'm going to tell you what you need to do to survive. Once you begin the game, you're going to pick your faction. Vanu Sovereignty uses plasma weapons and a lot of advanced technology. Terran Republic are the true, tried, and tested military soldiers, and they use a lot of bullet weapons, high fire rate. New Conglomerate is more of the rebellious faction, and they like to use heavy-hitting weapons and heavier armor, but they sacrifice usually mobility for it and also range oftentimes. So, that being said, this is a basic tower, and you'll be running into a lot of these out there in the wild. So when you first start the game, you're going to be limited to a continent called Koltir, which you are fighting newer players. And there may be a few older players that have snuck in under the radar, but they are going to be infrequent. Now, when you get out to the wild, the fights get massive quick. You will oftentimes be in fights that involve a couple hundred people, which is not typical for a first-person shooter, and that's why Planetside is such a unique gem. Now, that being said, to get started with the game, this right here is an equipment terminal. This is where you go to arm up, get health. Pretty much everything starts with an equipment terminal. Now, this over here is the spawn tube. And this is where you will respawn from. Now, spawn tubes are available at most facilities. You can only spawn in facilities that are adjacent to the one you're at. Or if you have a certain range between you and your squad leaders, you can also use certain spawns they have available sometimes. But beginning the game, the most important thing to know is the equipment terminal. And in here you can select your class from the left-hand side. The most important ones for starting out are going to be the combat medic, the engineer, and the heavy assault. These are the primary classes that get used in the game. Infiltrator is a stealth class. Light assault has the ability to fly and can oftentimes drop C4 from above and you basically get in good angles to surprise people. Combat Medic is able to revive the dead and heal his teammates. Can also create a nice little undead army by continuously reviving people. There's no limit on revives. And it also does stress combat in the word Combat Medic the words Combat Medic because you will be fighting as this class. Don't think you're just going to sit back and res everyone. You will get shot at and you will have to shoot back. And medics have very good guns. This is an assault rifle they start with, which is, I would say, probably one of the most accurate solutions in the game for shooting long range. The engineer class uses a carbine. They're good for supplying ammo to your teammates, repairing structures, vehicles, and max suits. And they're generally a good support class, especially if you're going to be fielding a vehicle. You'll want to have your engineer leveled up. And then Heavy Assault is the primary fighting class in the game. It costs no resources to use, and to state that, Planetside gives you resources as you play, which are down here at the very bottom where it says 750. That's my resources right now. That being said, Heavy Assault has an overshield and is pretty durable in combat. It gets access to light machine guns and super heavy weapons like the T7 mini chain gun for the Terran Republic, which is a very fast-firing weapon. And then lastly, max suits are infantry annihilators. They're mechanized armored exoskeletons is what max stands for. And they are very good at taking out infantry. They're also very good at taking out vehicles. It just depends on what they're loaded up with. This right here is an anti-infantry setup you're looking at. And maxes in general are quite good at taking punishment, but they need support. A solo max is usually a dead max in most cases. Now with an engineer tied with them, that's a pretty good combination. You can add a medic in there for extra stability, and you've got a 3-man death squad, pretty much. That being said, to get started with the game, we have the Combat Medic. Most games give you a really shitty starter weapon. Planetside does not do that. They give you some of the best guns out there to start with. Now, of course, there are tons of weapons in this game, and each class has limited options as to what they can and cannot use. The Medic has the assault rifle, which I mentioned earlier, which is awesome. This is a very controllable weapon. So you can mod your guns in 4 different slots here. As we see here, you can get a particular sight for the gun. The stock is not very good, so I do recommend putting a sight on. The 1X RTA reflex sight here is probably the most popular sight in the game. The MH2 reflex sight is a very good sight to get. These are all very cheap for the first gun. so you can get them inexpensively. And like I said, Planetside is not pay to win, so you will be able to purchase these with certifications you earn by fighting. So don't feel like you have to buy everything all at once, but get your basics. Another thing I highly recommend is a forward grip on most guns. It reduces horizontal recoil, makes it a little bit easier to handle the weapon. Certain other guns give you other options, but don't worry about them too much. The compensator's pretty good as an option if you have it available. And ammo types, Cycler doesn't have any, but certain other weapons have better ammo types, and they do different things, so buying an ammo type isn't always the best option to do. Sometimes it's better not to have it. It really just depends on the situation, so don't worry about ammo types at first. Get yourself a grip and get yourself a sight, and then you got yourself a gun. And do that on any gun you start with. Get yourself a sight, get yourself a grip. Now, that being said, there are pistols in the game. Each faction has their own pistols. Don't worry about them. You'll get the pistols eventually. They're a backup weapon anyways. You probably won't use them in most cases unless your pants are down anyways. So, starting out here, Combat Medic, I'm going to give you the basics of combat. While you're walking around like this, what we see on the screen is known as hip fire. When you fire from hip fire, your aim will go to shit quick. It's really good for close range combat because you maintain your mobility. You'll be walking around and you can fire without slowing down, as you can see. Now, that's a short reload right there. So, that being said, you will have longer reloads when you actually empty the entire magazine. So, if you want a quicker reload, save that last bullet. So this right here is called aiming down the sight. Aiming down the sight will penalize your movement speed. As you can see here, I'm moving much slower. It makes me a bigger target. But at the same time, I'm way more accurate and can pinpoint locations. Now, I'm going to let go of magazine here so we see a long reload, and we also see what happens if you hold down the trigger, which is not a good thing. In this game, you want to burst fire in certain increments. So I'm going to empty a magazine here. Okay, so we saw how much longer that reload was, and we also saw the spread of the bullets. It went a little bit out of control after the first, 15 or so went out of the magazine. Burst fire is very important. Watch my accuracy when I burst. Look at that. Pretty significant difference, I would say. That being said, control your fire. Don't go hog wild and just empty everything all at once unless you're in a bad situation. And if you do that, well, hopefully you killed your target because you are going to spend some time getting the magazine refilled, getting your gun back in operational status. So, Combat Medic, as I said, has a very good gun. They have the assault rifle. And their primary class ability they start out with is they get a heal tool, which allows you to heal people and also revive them. Left click will heal an individual. Right click will resurrect an individual. Now, your weapons and everything in the game will progress as you certify them. So, the more points you earn, the more points you can assign to things. We call them certs, or certifications. So, this medic tool at first is going to be very slow in healing. It's going to be very slow in reviving people, but you can put points into it to make it better if you decide you like the medic class. Now, that being said, there is also another ability on the medic, which, as we see here, is an area effect heal around us. This will heal everyone around us. It has about 2 full charges of heals, and it will regenerate over time after it expires. So we'll see it starts coming back after it's emptied here. This allows you to heal people around you without sacrificing your gun. So hence the combat medic. You will be firing during this time. So use this ability to heal yourself and heal others around you while shooting. It's a great way to support while being actively aggressive. This is a good starter ability. You can improve everything in this game, but get started with this. We're going to also look at suit slots real quick before we proceed on. Every single class has a couple different suit slots that are available for it. Well, I'm sorry, not a couple different, but I have an ability slot and they got a suit slot. The suit slot, the best one is typically nanoweave armor, and this adds resistance to bullets. So, taking more bullets is a good thing, right? Well, this applies to your suit, but not your head. So keep that in mind when firing at targets. If they're equipped with nanoweave armor, they're going to take 20% more bullets to kill them if they have it fully upgraded. So make sure when you're shooting at a target, you try to aim for the head if possible. If not, try to get solid body shots and be consistent. That's the most important thing. Planetside is more of a volume of fire versus perfect accuracy kind of game. Perfect accuracy obviously is going to be difficult to achieve when you're getting started, especially. Just try to take into account that your target is probably going to be wearing this. So go for their head if you can. You'll notice a significant kill percentage difference. Like you'll kill them much quicker. Now, moving on from the medic class, which is a great cert-making class, you get basically a certification, or not really certification, sorry, you get more XP when you kill somebody, and when you revive somebody with this class, it gives you about the same amount. It's close. So it is also great support, great force multiplier to get people back up off the ground and on their feet again fighting. Moving on to the engineer. The engineer starts out with carbines. The Track 5 is a TR starter carbine. Once again, first thing to do is you come in here and you get yourself a grip and get yourself a sight. You can see that it has limited options on barrel and ammo, just like the Cycler. Pretty fast fire. Now, something to notice about the Track 5 is that each gun, I showed you, already has a certain level of accuracy. Well, they also have a certain level of jarringness to them, like horizontal recoil, vertical recoil. So you can control these weapons a little bit better if you actually know what the weapon performs like. So in the case of the Track 5, it has a pull. We'll watch as I will just pull down the trigger here and watch how the gun reacts. You see how it kind of went up into the right? You can see how it just kind of came over to the right here. Look at that. This shows you that the Track 5 has a right side pull. Now, if you're unsure about any gun, try it out like this and understand which direction the gun's going to be fighting you so you can fight against it with the mouse. This allows you to be more accurate. So even at burst fire, you can still pull down and to the left and get that same accuracy that the Cycler had. Little bit worse of a gun than the Cycler, but at the same time, it's very effective. Now, Engineer starts out with the Engineer tool, which this is used for repairing objects. It could be a turret, it could be a vehicle, it could be a max suit. Just keep in mind that when you're repairing something, you pretty much have your dick in your hand. So you'll be very effective at getting things back in operational and supporting your max teammate or supporting a vehicle. But just keep in mind that somebody sees you repairing, they're going to shoot you because you're pretty much a free kill at that point. You're not going to do anything to defend yourself. Now, that being said, Engineer's other ability is to throw ammo. And ammo is very nice for supporting your team. Gives you points whenever people resupply from it. And you have unlimited ammo you can throw out. So if you have it fully upgraded, you can toss out 2 different ammos at the same time. And as with everything, you can upgrade ammo radius on it and make it more effective to give out more ammo, make it last longer as well. So Engineer is a solid support class, especially if you want to get into vehicle play later. So it's a very good starter class because even when stuff's done, as you can see, that turret over there is damaged and through the wall there. So we could go out there and we could repair that turret and make certifications by repairing. So we'll get XP for doing that. Everything in this game gives XP. So if you repair that turret, you'll get XP for it. So Engineer is a solid all-around class. It doesn't excel at anything, but it's very good for vehicle use. Now, that being said, it's a great cert earner, but if you're looking for, like, one-on-one combat or, just to kick ass in general, we have what's known as the Heavy Assault. Now, the Heavy Assault on TR will start out with the T9 Carve here, and as you see, I've got a suppressor on mine. I wouldn't recommend that unless you know what you're doing. So we'll take that off here for a second. And once again, first thing you do is you go for an optic, and you get yourself a forward grip to control the gun a little bit better. Now, this being said, this right here is a night vision scope. These are available. You'll notice it moves around a little bit on its own. You can prevent that by holding your sprint button, and that'll hold your breath for a short duration so you can shoot, but it will only last as long as you can hold your breath. Now, this is a very high capacity magazine, as you can see, by comparison to the other guns. It gives the Carve a little bit more firepower. Light machine guns in general have a bigger magazine. They're also heavy recoils. You can see the hip fire is complete shit on it. You can see it by how big the reticle is. So firing is, as you see, pretty inaccurate. Now, aiming down the scope, you can still do the same thing. You can get that good accuracy, especially if you're burst. and we can see a nice tight grouping. Now, reloads on this, obviously, longer as well. So it's a heavier fighting class, and its special two abilities it gets. It gets the missile launcher. This right here is a decimator. It's not what you start out with. You will start out with the ML7 on TR, and the ML7 is a solid rocket launcher. It's better to aim down the sight when firing with it, but you can see it's pretty inaccurate. Now, rockets are one-shots by default. They will kill infantry. If you're fighting against a max suit, use explosives because bullets will not fare too well against them in most cases. So firing a missile here, pretty much a straight shot. It will have some drop to it. Takes a little bit of time to reload it, and then you're good to go. You do have limited ammo on it. The ML7 here starts out with a total of 5 shots with one in the chamber already. So use this for when attacking any type of structure, any type of vehicle, the max suit. And you can fire it at infantry. It's effective, but it's also a one-time shot deal because you're going to pull the trigger and then you're going to probably run after that because it's not going to do much other than reload at that point. You can try to pull your other weapon out, but LMGs are slow to come out, as you can see. So you will get killed in that time frame. Now, the other thing to note on this is that Heavy Assault has an overshield. And this overshield will absorb damage starting out. The first shield's called a nanite mesh generator, and it will absorb bullets. You can see it's draining over time, so you don't want to leave it on. It will recharge if you have it off, but if you get shot during the time frame in which you are using this or take fall damage, if you're falling, you can activate this to help blunt the impact. If you get shot, this shield will decrease first, and then it'll go for your personal shield. Now, I do want to show off personal shields real quick so you understand the mechanics behind it. So we're going to get close to this grenade, but not all the way close to it. You see right there, we got fucking nailed. Alright, so shield's down, we can see that. Takes about 10 seconds or so, and the shield will recover and come back up. There we go. And we can see it automatically charges the blue bar by itself. But our health is not coming back. This is where that medic comes in. So my green health will not restore by itself. Even if I come up to a terminal and resupply, it's not gonna come back. So medic, once again, can heal. And we just fixed ourselves. So very important to have medics around. Healing gives you XP, giving ammo gives XP, giving revives gives XP, killing things gives XP. So you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to get better as you go. Just put those points into the most important starter things. Sight and your forward grip. Or laser sight if you really want to get good hip fire and never aim down the sight. So a little tutorial on this particular type of facility, because you're going to run into towers a lot. This is the spawn room. Coming out of the spawn here, you're going to have multiple options to leave. There are 2 drop down points, here and here. You can also walk straight out onto the ledge to get out. Now, this is a blue elevator. These are always down. Whenever you see this, you can see the flow of nanites going down. You can see the flow of nanites going up on this one. So this is an up elevator. This right here is a teleporter. So teleporters take you certain places. On bases like this, if you take the teleporter, it'll take you down to the vehicle room, the very bottom of the tower. So if you're trying to get downstairs in a hurry, that's the best way to do it. Now, most cases, the point on these towers are right below you, and points are where you have to defend or attack if you're an attacker. So we'll exit by dropping down 1 floor. And we can see there's elevators go back into the spawn. And walking out here onto the main kind of promenade area, there's not much here, but usually right down here is the point in most towers. So if you come down here and jump down, here's the defend room. Usually the point's right here in the center. So the towers are rectangular, so I mean you're going to have good sight lines to the outer areas here to shoot off the top. But keep in mind you're going to be in range of vehicles, and light assaults love to come up the sides here, even past the gun turrets, which are only so effective at stopping them and stopping the vehicles. So back into the main room here, we can see there's a staircase on both sides that goes down. Those both go down to the main vehicle area. And if we walk down these, we can see we got a terminal down here at the bottom, and then we have 2 vehicle pads that are right here. And the vehicles spawn over in that area. Do not be in there. If you are in there when a vehicle spawns, you die. It's that simple. So dropping down here, the exits for the vehicles are right here, and same on the other side. There's also a back door into the facility here, and 2 main vehicle pathways. Vehicles love to come through here, so try to avoid exposure into this area because you're not only exposed to fire, but you are exposed to vehicles crushing your ass. Same thing with over here. We got a door. This right here has typically got a shield here. It's not turned on right now, but this will block enemy fire. The good thing about a shield like this is it's called a spawn shield, which means you can fire out of it. But it's a bad idea to stay in there and be shooting out because you're pretty much useless to your team. So don't sit behind these shields. Get out there and whoop their ass. So that being said, the teleporter. This teleporter will take us to the very top floor. And we see up here, if we come down, we'll be right in the spawn again. So even from here, this is that same teleporter that takes you down to the bottom. So we're back to where we were at the bottom at this point. Now taking this teleporter again is going to take us to the top floor. And the top floor is accessible through that up pad through the spawn. And if we look here, we can see that out here we have our vehicle terminals for aircraft. So aircraft can be purchased from up here. Typically you can purchase heavier aircraft from these terminals without any problems. And you could rearm them out here on the pads. These are actually ammo pads. If you come out here, this is, as you see, bullet icons. So right here, each one of these pads have resupply for aircraft. The vehicle resupplies are similar in icon, but they're towers basically out there. So if you need ammo for a vehicle, that's where you can obtain them, is by going to one of these vehicle spawns. Actually, here's an ammo tower right here to show it off. So if you drive in a radius around these things, you will get ammo for a vehicle. It will not resupply infantry. Same with these pads. They will not resupply infantry. So if you need bullets, go to a terminal or scream at your local engineer. So that's also why engineer's a good thing, because if you run out of bullets, yeah, you're in trouble. Now, getting back to this tower, each level has its own level of defenses. The first floor down here, as we see, we come out of the spawn room and drop down a level, has anti-vehicular turrets. These things typically are under fire pretty consistently, but they are extremely good for defense, and having them active at a time is a pain in the ass for attackers. They do fire tank rounds. We'll go and investigate one real quick here. So to get into a turret, you walk up to it and you press your use button. The turret will activate and spool up, and as you see, we are now in command of the turret. It has a limited firing arc, like it can't move left further than this. Can't move up higher than this, so it's not really good at shooting down aircraft very much. So it is really good at cleaning the area around it. So if you have infantry out there, this thing will one-shot them if you hit them dead on. Vehicles, it also crushes. It has unlimited ammunition, and the right click is a zoom. So you will get yourself some decent range, and there's not much drop on the guns either, which is nice. You can see here, not very much drop at all. And the heat will dissipate down at the bottom there if you let off for a little bit. You can overheat the gun by firing it until it goes out. Now when you're done, or if this thing's critically damaged, and you can see the paper doll icon on the right there in green. So we're going to get out, and we're going to put a, well, we're going to put a C4 or something into it if I got anything. We don't. So these are completely repairable by engineers. So when they take damage, the paper doll, you'll see the green area on the right here decrease. It'll become black. That means it's damaged. When it gets heavily damaged, it'll start to smoke. So people will basically see blood in the water and start firing at you because you're on fire. And they know that that thing's going to go down quick. So try to be in these until they're about to go, and then get the hell out of them and get out of the explosion radius. Just keep in mind that people are going to be firing at these all the time, so an engineer coming out here and repairing this is pretty exposed to do so. Now, this being said, we're going to take the up elevator here, back up, all the way to the roof. Roof level defenses are slightly different on towers. And here we have a defense that is a phalanx anti-air turret. And these fire alternating shots. And these fire flak and have the same zoom. They're good at killing aircraft. You can hurt infantry and vehicles with them, but don't bother. If you're doing that, shooting at something like that, you're just gonna annoy them. You're not really gonna kill them most of the time. But lead these things and shoot down aircraft. You can see the VR walls here, so I am a nice box at the moment. But try to lead your aircraft and shoot at them. Keep in mind it uses the same heat mechanic and it has the same paper doll icon, so Very good for defending a tower. Most important thing on tower defense is paying attention to the facility's points. So make sure you don't get capped on. If you get your points capped by the enemy faction, you will be kicked out of here once the timer goes down to 0, and your commander will tell you to leave the area because you've lost. Planetside 2 is a perpetual battle. That means that no matter what you do, there's always going to be a fight going on. There's no true progression for the war in this game. It's for land, for power, forever. So if you lose an area, you can get it back by attacking it. If you get completely kicked off a continent because of one of the enemy factions locks it, don't worry, there's another continent. Go to that one and fight. Each one has its own different types of terrain. So this being a basic facility, get to know the icons you see here. That's a teleporter. You can see it by looking at it. This is a vehicle terminal. You can see their locations on the mini-map also, which is in the bottom left. If you press your H key by default, you can make that bigger. You can also zoom in and out of the mini-map to see more detail if you need it. And we have air terminals being the aircraft icon. And then equipment terminals being the gun icon. If you're never sure where the equipment is on the map, just hit your H keys and look around, see what's where. You can also just kind of look around manually, see where you see an icon. And like, oh, look, a teleporter. Oh, look, aircraft. So that way you don't have to always use the map. But the map is very important in this game. Try to pay attention to it. Otherwise, you'll get shot and not know where it came from. Now, this game uses a very specific spotting mechanic, which means if you press Q by default, on any infantryman who is on or not on your faction, it will identify them. So if you're unsure who somebody is, hit Q, and it'll tell you who it is. Your character will also scream out, hey, I saw this, and it'll let everyone around you know where that guy is, and he'll have what's known as a Dorito, basically a marker above his head. It's probably one of the most meanest things you can do to somebody when people don't see them because they're wearing good camo and they're in a good position. You spot them, and everyone will shoot at them. So their life is pretty much going to be short once you call them out. But keep in mind, if you're trying to hide and you start shouting at people's names, each faction has their own voice pack, so they sound differently, and they're going to know exactly who you are, too, and they're going to spot you or shoot you. So if you're going to spot somebody, make sure you know what you're doing, because you will get shot. Now, coming up to equipment terminals, we can see whenever we shoot something here, well, let me get a different weapon and hit something, actually. Whenever we shoot something that is not ours, there is friendly fire in this game that's persistently on. So if we fire at this right here, you see that big cancel sign, okay? And that cancel sign means you just hit a friendly, and you'll see a giant warning text come across your screen saying, do not shoot friendlies, because if you do, your weapons will be locked. Now this is very important because if you shoot friendlies, you will not be able to fire at all eventually. So it is very important not to kill your own teammates and to only shoot the enemy. So identify them, then shoot. If you're looking at TR, you're going to see black and white mostly. Or, sorry, not black and white, forgive me. You're going to be seeing black and red mostly. And red is going to be the primary color for Terran Republic. If you see new conglomerate, they are going to be blue. Okay, blue is going to be their key color, and also yellow. Vanu are typically purple. They do kind of have a teal and a gray scheme to them as well. You see the difference on the turrets now, too. This one's smoking. You see smoke coming out of it, people are going to shoot at it because they know it's almost dead and they're going to hit it. So to show off real quick here how repairing works, it's very similar. It's unlimited. So we're going to grab our engineer kit and we're going to jump up real quick back to the same area. Notice how I'm navigating the tower. And we're going to drop down, so we're going to look for the one that has the down. This is up, obviously. And we're going to take this down one right here and drop down. Okay, so we can find the one that's on fire. We see it here. And we'll pull out our repair tool, and we'll come up to it, and we'll start to repair it. As we see, we're getting repair XP down there. It's not counting right now because I'm in virtual reality. But we can see I'm repairing the object, and its health is increasing. And we see right here my gun just overheated, so I have to wait for it to cool down before I can use it again. So just keep in mind that everything that works on a heat mechanic works the same way. A couple seconds not using it, it starts to decrease its heat. So this being said, understand that there are a lot of vehicles in this game, and vehicles are pretty much a counter to infantry in almost every case. So a couple things I want to show you about vehicles real quick, and then I'm going to throw you out in the wild. Hopefully you got enough information to play this game. Movement's very important, so make sure you know little tricks to get different places quickly. And coming down here, here are the classifications of vehicles. We have a Flash. This is a 1 to 2 man transport. It can be used offensively if it's a stealth cloaking device. It's a very fragile vehicle, and the operator can be shot off of it. Harasser. Harasser is a very good vehicle in the right hands. In the wrong hands, it's disposable. Okay, it's very good at getting places quickly if you prefer moving on the ground. It does protect the driver. It has 3 slots available to it. It does have a top gun, and the top gun is Empire specific. And there are also some ones that are non-Empire specific, like a halberd, for example, which is a missile launcher, can be fielded by all 3 of the factions. It can also repair on the move. So very lightly armored. If caught in a bad situation, a Harasser can make the best out of it usually. Sunder. This is a spawn, okay, and I'm gonna actually show this one off here in a second. So this vehicle is the primary source of any attack, and it's very important to knock these things out when you see them on the map. If you're trying to stop an enemy faction from whooping your ass, this is what you got to kill to do it. Especially if you're on defense, find their Sunders, destroy them. There are terminals on this thing and spawn points. So this is the primary assault vehicle in the game. Lightning. This is a 1-man tank. Okay, it's very good for what it is. It's not as expensive as a big tank. Deals almost as much damage. Has a little less armor. Fields 1 person. Very solid tank. If you're looking for a starter vehicle, learn this one. Lastly, we have the Empire-specific vehicle. And in this case, this is the Prowler. The Vanu have the Mag Rider, which is a hover tank, and the Vanguard is on the New Conglomerate, and that is a more heavily armored tank. So each tank has 2 slots on it, one for the top gunner and one for the primary driver and the primary main cannon. So it is basically a 2-man vehicle, heavy armor, good at taking out stuff like Sunders or Lightnings or basically big stuff. Gonna pull a Sunder real quick here. You see we drive out of the bay, and now I have control of the vehicle, so it auto drives you out. Alright, so I'm going to drive this a couple feet here, and I'm going to set up. And we can see right here, this one has a stealth bubble, so around it, you will turn invisible. So if you ever turn invisible like this, you're like, what's going on? It's a stealth Sunder. Don't fire the guns on the Sunder. Don't fire your gun yourself, because if you do, you de-stealth. And they will see you, and they will know, hey, that guy just came out of stealth, so they probably have a Sunder right there. The further you get away from this, you will not see it. This stealth bubble is visible to the enemy. That outline is not. They will not see this until they get point blank. So it is a very good vehicle for assaults. There's also other configurations that make it less stealthy and more aggressive, like bulwark armor, to make it so it is heavier armored and harder to destroy. Now, this being said, we can still use the terminals while it's invisible. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a missile so we can see it, and we'll see what happens to that stealth bubble when I hit it. Look at that. Bubble's gone. Everyone around it is revealed. The entire vehicle is revealed. After a couple seconds, it'll hide itself again. Until it gets hit again, of course. At that point, saw ID stealthed, everything around is gone, and back to normal. Now, I've fired, so it takes a couple seconds for me to get back into stealth, and there we are. So, now, engineers can repair this, but same things apply here. You break that stealth for a couple seconds, and then you also reveal yourself. See, I'm completely visible here. So, I cannot repair the Sunder without them seeing it. So, just keep that in mind. Now, this is a spawn point, so if you're going to get rid of one of these things, you want to use heavy artillery. The missile launcher was a good solution. Engineers also get tank mines. So I'm going to show these off real quick here. This is a tank mine. If you want to blow up a Sunder and you are working with a non-shielded variety because they're harder to crack, you will come up to the Sunder and you'll drop your mines on it, and then shoot your damn mines to make them go off, because it's parked, it's not going to drive over it, but those are still explosive, so that's all it's going to take. Bye-bye. And I just stopped an assault. So find their Sunders, destroy them, hit them with missiles, hit them with tank mines, drive a Lightning out here, drive a Prowler out here, hit them with as much stuff as you can to stop. Just keep in mind that if you're going for a Sunder to stop a fight like that, people don't like it. People are going to shoot you. People are going to try to take you out as fast as they can. So being able to do that against the flow of infantry and the flow of vehicles protecting it is always a challenge, and fights get bigger the longer they last typically. Platoons will show up and they'll park multiple Sunders, so you'll think, hey, I just got to blow up that Sunder. Well, they have probably another one hidden somewhere. So don't just rely on one doing it, but you got to contribute, you got to do your part, and you got to take that out. So that's Planetside in a nutshell. There are aircraft in this game also, like I said. I don't want to show them off because it's going to take too much time. However, this is the basics. Learn infantry first. Get yourself upgraded on a class you like. Upgrade its nano weave. Upgrade its suit ability. Upgrade its gun. Okay, make sure you're using a weapon you like. If you don't like a weapon, they have others. Start investigating them. So there's your basics. Get out there, destroy some Sunders, kick some ass, and cap some points. If you got any questions for me, please leave them in the comments below. I will happily follow up this series if it's actually desired. Take care, guys.